Hi, Reality Riffing. Susan Griffin-Black, the co-founder of EO Products, is a dear friend of mine and really a self-made woman in the entrepreneurial space. She entered the space with her partner of creating simple and powerful at-home products that could do the same things as some of the products that had chemicals. And at the time when they created EO, the marketplace was very empty of natural and organic home and self-care products. So she has a really interesting and beautiful story of creating a conscious business, multi-million-dollar business from the grassroots to building it 25 years later, using Buddhist principles and using principles of compassion and self-awareness to create a very monolithic success. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Susan Griffin-Black. Over the years, you have heard me make lots of jokes about my favorite thing in the whole world that I take everywhere with me, no matter what is going on, even before the current state of affairs on the planet. And before I even met Susan Griffin-Black, the co-founder of EO, I was making jokes about the fact that the EO wipes basically get Shubhapreet and I through the planet and back again safely, and it's our favorite thing in the world. And then, of course, by 6 degrees of separation, we have a mutual friend, and I am so excited to introduce you to Susan, who is the co-founder of EO and Everybody, and is just doing amazing things in the world and has an amazing entrepreneurial story. And Susan, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, Satnam, so happy to see you. Always, my friend.
So happy to see you.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And so I'd love to just dive into, when we were sitting together the first time I met you, you told me some of your entrepreneur's story, which was very enlivening to me because I think it's helpful to hear the kind of success stories of making everything out of nothing kind of stories that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have. And so I would just love for you to share any of that for anyone who's watching this so they can get inspired.
Sure. I spent years as a clothing designer, and my last gig was a very long time ago, 90, 91, working for the late Doug Tompkins at a spree. Excuse me. And he was an eco pioneer. And, when he sold a spree, he bought up quite a few acres in Chile and made a national park and worked very closely with the Chilean government on land conservation. When I worked with him, he was really trying to figure out how to make things in a more sustainable way. And that was really a portal for me in 1990 to take a look at the impact of how we were making things around the world. And one of the first and most basic things was our use of cotton and toxic dyes and the pesticides used in farming cotton and how that affected the farmers and the processors. And so I sort of dove head in to the environmental world and really got very interested in how we make things. And during that time, I met Anita Roddick and David Brower and David Foreman and Nora Hodges and all of these incredible people who were really early in, sort of after Rachel Carson, in the movement of looking at things in a much more holistic way. And then, so Doug sold the company to Susie, and she was sort of a little bit on a different path just because of practical financial matters at the time. And I was working for her, and I was running through London on a trend trip. And I was like in Covent Garden between Paul Smith and Muji. And I'm saying this to you because I know you're a
Yeah.
shopper.
Yeah.
And you know the reference point. And I happened onto this little courtyard called Neal's Yard. And at 12 o'clock, I walk into the door of this beautiful little apothecary, and it smelled amazing. And it had essential oils and tinctures and homeopathic remedies and books and dried herbs. And upstairs, there was a host of healing rooms and healers for all sorts of alternative therapy. And then you would come downstairs and they would fill your prescription.
Huh.
And I picked up this little bottle of lavender essential oil, lavender angustifolia from France, and my whole life changed. You know, it was like one inhale, and it was transmission, really. You know, and as soon as I was there, it smelled so honest and vital and real and unlike any other sort of commercial retail environment that I was ever in. And I decided, well, this is just what I'm going to do. So I started by importing their products, and I got the license for the US. And so, you know, and then I took many aromatherapy courses, studied cosmetic chemistry crash course at UCLA, and sort of got myself educated so that I could self-educate in conjunction and then kind of figure it out. And so what I found is that like each essential oil has its own unique story, vibration, sensibility, right? Yeah. And each plant, same species, unadulterated, how we cultivate, how we get it, much like wine and spices and all plant products. And I was so interested in the individual energies and how they came together. And so that's really how I started. And our first commercial product for EO were 4 blends that Bloomingdale's commissioned for their holiday catalog in 1995. And so we just sort of started down the path really simply and earnestly, and, you know, and just kept going. And that was 26 years ago.
And this is, I mean, I think just to reference for those of you out there who were born in the 90s, that, I mean, you guys were really one of the first natural product companies in America. I mean, like you were one of the first and biggest. I mean, am I right about that, or do I have my facts wrong?
Yes, no, it's certainly not the biggest. I mean, there were we're standing on the shoulders of like the Waledas and the Hauska, who are already in the permaculture movement and, you know, in Europe. And then there was Aubrey and, you know, some other natural brands that came before us. I think we were one of the first to really commit to making our products with essential oils and no other synthetic fragrance, and then building our formulas around essential oils instead of the other way around. So we were using the essence of what the oils sort of told us, and what that the best formulation given, you know, the oils of choice and what it was for and how it smelled and how it felt and all of those things. So I think that was, you know, our unique beginning and unique middle and unique end, because even though we do 2 brands now, they're differentiated by the expense of ingredients and actives, really. You know, so for everyone, we might use, you know, more citruses and things that are people deem as more accessible, and they are in terms of price, but they're still exquisitely beautiful and real. And for EO, we have the luxury of using, you know, jasmine and rose and more exotic and, you know, different essential oils and extracts.
I didn't, of course, know that you were like a hobby organic chemist, Susan. just
On a,
I mean, just
just on the side.
just a hobbyist organic chemist.
I'm not really. I rely heavily on many chemists, and have over the years. I've learned a lot. But when you're making things pretty simply, it's sort of like you can get a vinaigrette at Sizzler, or Alice Waters makes a vinaigrette at Chez Panisse, and it's basically the same 5 ingredients.
Yeah.
But where they come from, how they come to us, all of that is very, very different.
Yeah.
So similar.
Yeah. I also think that when things are simpler in terms of my understanding, in terms of beauty products and body products, it actually, it kind of makes it harder, right? The more simple the formulation.
It does, because the reliance on each one is a little bit greater.
Yeah.
And also how they come together has to be right. And because these are agricultural products like grapes and wine, it can vary by terroir and seasonality and weather and all sorts of those things.
Yeah. So you guys have been very socially forward on all levels. You're ecologically forward, you're socially forward, you guys are B Corp. Do you want to talk about kind of some of the initiatives that you've been doing over these past 25 years? Really, you are, I will say this for you, I'll brag like your Jewish mom. You guys are you're trailblazers, because like now everyone does this, but you have been doing it for 26 years.
I think, I can say that we wanted to do this because we wanted to make beautiful products for ourselves and our friends and community. And that's true. We did. And we wanted to make them wholesome and in a way that's really embraces presence and wellness. And we also wanted to kind of find the deeper meaning in the why and how of what we were doing, so that we could live a more integrated life. Like, by the time we started EO, my son was 9, and I was about to be pregnant with my daughter, Lucy. Mm-hmm. And so I had already had the experience of being very torn between work and parenting. And so we decided we'll just manufacture really close to where we live in Marin, which, never thinking that it would become the most expensive place in the world to live and manufacture products.
Right.
And, but the idea was, well, I want to be available for every parent-teacher conference and basketball game. Yeah. That's sort of how we were going to live. And then we wanted to create a company that we wanted to work for. Yeah. And in the early days, because it was really, when you build something over 26 years without, talking about a Series A and B and D, and, when we're going to do $1 billion, it really takes on a much more roller coaster, but in a calmer way, Yeah. It's not so dramatic. But neither is the success or failure, because then, sort of manage as you go. So, if sales weren't so good, we could go to a 4-day work week. The expectations were just not as high. And what we were adhering to was running a business that was really informed and inspired by our values. And from myself in particular, Brad has a different sort of spiritual path. I have been a Zen Buddhist student for many, many years. Yeah. So my practice really informed our business in every way. Yeah. And so most people don't really mix those things and talk about it in that particular way. But, with mindfulness and everything as it is in the world today, co-arising, it's really easier to look back and say, well, this is what we were doing in community at the San Francisco Zen Center. And that informed, well, this is how we want to be together in the best ways, because, not all of that is rosy, but in the best ways of how we come together. But what's essentially great about it is that when you operate with the values of kindness and respect and integrity, and you are measuring what your cumulative effect is, and you have criteria and you're audited, as we are as a B Corp, it gives us a way to measure and a community and a means to check ourselves about how well we're doing, about what we think we're doing well and not so well, So it does give us a context and community to operate in. And that just gives us as a community, as our teammates and workers, people that we work with, sort of more heart and meaning in terms of engagement.
Yeah.
Because we're paying attention.
Which is, I think it's imperative. I think a lot of companies right now obviously are scrambling to find ways to either make up for lost time around being blind to both the geopolitical and ecological and the racism and just all the stuff that's coming up right now. They're scrambling to figure out, how to kind of get on brand and on message and all this. And I just, I think it's beautiful to see that this has just been kind of inborn in the way you guys have run your business and attempted to, create community in EO and in the workforce and in the teams.
I also think it's, that we made a conscious decision a long time ago to, we have a few very, very patient angel investors from back in the day.
Yeah.
And then we have loans and great banking relationships. And it's sort of, instead of getting private equity money or, any sort of venture money, we've just put the money back in.
Yeah.
And so that's enabled us to sort of stay true to our values and create a culture that is a little bit more human and compassionate.
Yeah. And so for those out there who are listening who have either started a new business or are in that startup time, or they're thinking about starting a new business in the current climate, which I think is, I think a lot of genius is going to come out of everything that's happening right now. What are some words of wisdom for young or startup entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think going slow and being kind are two things that never ever get talked about in a business realm, and they have a lot of implications, like far-reaching implications, because it really isn't a sprint, although it feels like one, and we all love adrenaline, being entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
It's an ultra marathon. And, cruel words internally or externally plant seeds for different sort of actions that follow. And kindness goes a really long way, especially when you're involved in a long-term project. And also, we just have to think globally and act locally. And I know that's been said, but the doing of it connects us to the present moment and our community where we are now in a very different way.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of heart and meeting and levels of engagement and satisfaction that comes with looking at things that way and forming a business relationship with, by taking care of ourselves, taking care of each other, taking care of our suppliers and the greater community. It really ripples out in a very different way.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for this time of not traveling.
Hear you.
It's kind of a miracle in a way to be able to have this conversation with you. And and be in the conversation and feel like we're together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the power of the technological age, I think on all levels, like the dark side and the really the some of the immense kind of connectivity that we can have is very much, I mean, I hear you, like it's been pretty profound. Some of the feel like we're reaching people that we hadn't, we weren't reaching before for whatever reason, and yeah, things like this. You're not just like packing a suitcase every week and all of that. It's a major kind of reorganization of priority.
Mhm. And how are you finding it? I'm curious because you're a very, very much of a global citizen and on the move. And
Yes, I mean, I'm a little like, I think I need a little action. I'm certainly a little itchy, but my husband is I'm a homebody too, and my husband is very happy about the non-traveling life that we have right now, and also we got Tibetan Mastiff puppies in February, and we knew we were going to have some time home, so we had planned it that way. But what's happened is, I don't know, like I like a whole deep, like very deep, because they're very different than any dog I've ever had. There's like a whole very deep relationship that has happened. I think that couldn't have happened before. So, and then all like the Rama world is so flexible and agile that I feel like we've really pivoted beautifully. So it's been beautiful to witness just all of it. I mean, it's pain, it's pleasure, the witnessing and being a part of this time on the planet, I think is a very much an honor. So I'm just feeling that every day. Just a lot of gratitude for just being alive right now, no matter how painful it is in certain ways or how much we're being brought to new levels of realization and just consciousness. So I don't know, that's been my experience. And I do think sitting in one place has helped that. Um, but then things that I thought would happen if I had this much time has not happened, which is always a good reminder as well. That you're
what,
like, you know what I mean?
busier than you ever thought you'd be for this, or just the pace, or what do you mean?
Well, I'm rushing to get my book done, but like I've actually had time sitting at home to do it, but I still haven't done it. Stuff like that where you're like, all right, I mean, you can externalize things that it's because of the travel schedule, but ultimately I think this has been also a good moment of realizing that this is all an inside job. You're either going to make things, the time and space is something that you are moving and not the other way around. So that's been very apparent for me. Have you had that experience at all?
Yes. I think, you know, this work from home, I used to think it was sort of a little bit short for, sort of working, not working, doing a few things in between. And so we weren't a big work from home culture. And this has really transformed and taught me about working from home. And because I think, it's not so busy if you just have Zoom meetings all day. I mean, you walk from here to there and,
Right.
to a more comfortable place to sit, or,
Yeah.
the sun or whatever. But it actually is very uh, emotionally and otherwise kind of exhausting in a way
Yes.
that I wouldn't imagine.
Yep.
And because, we've been operating production-wise, I come to work a lot of days. So I've gotten to see it sort of from both sides. But one thing I will say is I really think that for women with small children or stay-at-home dads, that there's really no other better way to work. And so for
Yeah.
people to not have to commute and add that extra stressor and pressure environmentally, ecologically, their own, personal ecology, and just add that to the equation, so much happier and healthier. So, we're really loosening that up, and we'll, of course, adapt and incorporate that into everything we do going forward, because
Yeah.
it really is liberating for parents.
I think, yeah, I think it's like there's definitely some camp. I've seen some different camps on that where it's like they're so happy and at the same time exhausted
Yes.
because they're with
I
their
know.
kids.
Yeah, but so I'm not, that's why I think not every day,
Yeah.
the flexibility of saying, I'm going to do this and that, and really owning the rhythm and your time with your family and how that goes, because it's just the internal, fracturing when you have to juggle that is so much less,
Yeah.
different, but less. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something I've always loved when I go to other cultures and other places. You just see this, the maintaining of certain family values that I don't see as much in certain parts, particularly of America, urban parts of America. And I do feel like this time has brought just even a forced kind of uh, a reclamation of family time. And I think that's fascinating to see that and how that, even though there's many things we're going to have to face as a world and as a nation, I think this kind of reclamation of family is going to be very positive.
It's really good for kids
Yeah,
to see a different model
yeah,
than the sort of, pumped up, stressed out, pressurized way that we've been living for a long time.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, when you guys pivoted, we were talking before we started the interview. You're just right now making hand sanitizer and hand soap. Is that kind of the plan for the future? I'm sad because I love some of your other products.
Well, we have some other inventory, so that was a sort of integrated plan in a way.
Yeah,
And we weren't sure where it was going to go, and then how many, if we needed help with co-packers, which we found a partner in Southern California.
mm,
And so we'll bring other products back on board, slowly over the next few months. But we're still really not able to keep up
the
with it.
demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're working on it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I know that it's like these are the best of times, these are the worst of times, but certainly I have thought about you many times, just that knowing that these were kind of very essential services right now. And I just know that part of people always wonder how I don't get sick very much, still traveling all the time. And I honestly, like from my heart, and I know have told you this before, but I'm going to say it publicly. I honestly think it's because of your products, because I'm a Virgo and I've been, clean hands since 1979, but but like we literally, I mean, I would want to take a video one of these days so you can see like the wipe down process, all like it's a whole situation with the EO wipes and the thing. It's just like it's an EO commercial, so we'll have to
Yes,
video it.
please do. So yes, and so the funny thing is, when we came up with this, which was many years ago, it was sort of like, well, you could have an aromatherapy moment, and it was a multitasking kind of an effort, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You kind of need that. Got to have clean hands. You've got to, go down the path. You got to focus for a second, and so it just sort of did all of that with a couple of sprays,
yeah,
and then we just, of course, just kind of kept going. But and it was such a different experience from other people who make sanitizers that have no scent, right? It's just
yes,
alcohol and very medicinal, and it works,
yeah,
but there's no pleasure. There's no
yeah,
moment.
yeah. Well, I'm so happy that we've gotten some time to just connect. And I guess my last question to you would just be around where, I mean, I like in this time of meditative space, however much you've had, but just not traveling, where do you feel is like the next um, mountain peak? Are you working on anything? Is it your spiritual practice? Are you writing a book? What's happening next?
Mhm. Um, I'm very concerned about the anti-racist movement and how we as women are leading and representing and modeling and integrating what a just world could be. And because I live in Mill Valley, and it's such a privileged, wealthy, and white community, we live really next door to Marin City, which is very diverse. It isn't primarily Black, but it's more, I would say, almost majority. Mm-hmm. And I have worked with that community, supported many organizations in that community and leadership. And we're just looking for more ways to integrate kids earlier so that by the time they get to high school, there's no difference. And I think it's just the most important work that we can do.
Yeah. Amazing. Mm-hmm. I agree. I think, any way, to me, it's like if there, and everyone knows this who has held power or been the kind of oppressive majority or even oppressive minority, depending on the situation around the planet. It's how can you get to the kids as young as possible and either indoctrinate them into the system you want them to be in or create a new world. And so I do, this is very important right now, is how we can educate and really create new leaders, because this is the future. Mm-hmm. Well, so nice to sit down with you, and thank you for sharing some of your very deep wisdom, and I can't wait to see you again in person.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me and including me, and just so lovely to see you.
I know, really, really beautiful. And keep up the good work up there. I think we may need, there's probably going to be more demands for hand sanitizer as this year goes. And I look forward to all the other things that you guys are doing to better the world.
Thank you. Satnam.
Satnam.
Big love.
Big love. Bye, Susan. Thank you so much for spending time today. That was so nice to talk with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Reality Riffing. These are conversations that I think are important with people who are doing great things in the world about subject matters that need to be discussed. If you enjoyed the content, the conversation, please feel free to share with your people, share with your friends and family, rate the podcast below, and also subscribe.